Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 30-minute webinar on Vendor Manager at Chronos Solutions reveals how she selects REO agents on Equator. So my name is Mia Simo, and you've probably heard me before. I'm the Agent Relationship Manager at Equator. Our special guest speaker today is Susan Speer with Chronos Solutions. Now, many of you probably know Susan. She's been in the vendor management world for about 10+ years, and she's currently at Chronos Solutions. And what she focuses on is building best-in-class broker networks. And she does that through monitoring the agent performance. She does a lot of coaching and conducting regional trainings and onboarding new coverage as needed. Many of you have heard Susan speak at conferences, roundtables, and she teaches REO agent skills through webinars like this, and does a lot of CE training courses as well. So I know everyone's anxious to hear Susan, but before we start, I wanted to let you know everyone is in listen-only mode, so all the phones are muted, but we encourage you to type in your questions in the question box. During the last 10 minutes or so, we will answer common questions that we see so that everyone can benefit from the answer. If we run out of time to address your question, we will directly email you by the end of the day today. And everyone always asks, will this be recorded? Yes, we are recording this, and a link to the video will be sent to all attendees tomorrow. So also at the end of the webinar, we will provide a phone number for technical support. So if you have any technical support questions, and also you will see the phone number for our agent specialist, agent development team for any questions on what you hear today. So I know that everyone's really anxious to hear the one question, so I'll just flip it over to Susan to start.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to speak about Equator and how we use it to find you today. You may be wondering how I came to get this little speaking gig. I met me at a conference not too long ago, and we got into a discussion about how widely used Equator is and why it's a good place to locate an agent. As you guys probably realize, during the big foreclosure drop years of, say, 2006 to 2010, so many people registered on Equator to try to get REO properties. I mean, people in the smallest towns across America registered because they were either being sought out to work with REO properties or maybe a short sale or do something within Equator. So there are just a lot of people in Equator, and it turns out that it's a pretty good place to locate people, even now. For those of you who don't know a lot about Chronos Solutions, we now have several accounts that our clients choose to go through Equator as their platform of choice. So, I mean, again, there's another reason to use Equator to find agents, and I'll kind of explain that as we go along. Going to speak to you today on how we use it to locate you, what features help us do that. Before I do, I learned that the #1 question asked during presentations like this is, are you accepting new agents to your network? So to get right into that, I will answer that question. We're always looking for agents to register with us. We do have a website for you. You can go to www.chronosolutions.com. hit the resources button, and then hit the vendor resources button. So there'll be 2 buttons to hit, but even if you don't remember what I'm saying, you'll probably be able to figure it out. And then you can go
Susan,
ahead and
can I stop you right there real quick? Susan, can I stop you real quick? I'm hearing from the audience that it's a little hard to hear you. If you could, possibly move a little bit closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Some people are hearing it.
What are they hearing?
A little bit of an echo, kind of a hollow, echoey.
I hate that. I hate that. I'm sorry, you guys. Let me see if I can take this off of the speaker, maybe.
Okay.
All right. I don't know. Is that any better?
Yes.
Somebody can type a message and let me know if that's better.
Yes, yes. Audio good. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, so back to us talking about our needs with Chronos Solutions. So we're always looking for people, particularly in hard to find areas like rural areas. Are we looking for people in Chicago and Los Angeles and big metro areas? Probably not as much volume has become an issue in this business. And so there are places where we're not going to be really looking for people. But every day I have to go in and source new people, and you just never know where that's going to be. So it's definitely worth your while just to do the registration and have your name in there. It'll put you on our waiting list. And obviously we'll reach out to you if we have a need in your area. Definitely do that, and hopefully that kind of answers that question moving forward. Again, www.chronosolutions.com. And when you register, please note you don't need to upload your docs. You're just going to be putting in your contact information at that point in time. All right, so let's go back to, all right. So let's talk about how vendor managers look for agents and a little bit about how the process works. We're generally looking to fill an area where we do not have coverage, or where we don't have enough coverage, or where we need to replace an agent. Sometimes agents just don't want to do REO anymore, especially now that everybody's so busy kind of going back to a traditional market. Or we just need to reassign a property for a reason, different reasons. Clients request it sometimes. So we're generally in a hurry, as the clock is always ticking with deadlines, and everybody who's ever worked in REO knows that. So you get to be really good, and I'm sure that my fellow vendor managers are just as good as I am at a very quick vetting process. We've been doing this for years. We know what to look for, and we can spot what we want in a matter of minutes. So if our clients are going through Equator, it's an obvious choice for locating an agent, and I'll also get into some of those reasons why in a minute. So we want our search to be the strongest, most experienced and willing agent partner we can find. So we're looking for somebody to have a long-term relationship with most of the time. We do have a few short projects here and there, but for the most part, we're looking for somebody who's going to be a good, strong, long-term partner. And so naturally, we're going to be looking for the best candidate we can find. We want somebody who's really, really comfortable with Equator or whatever platform, has worked in multiple platforms, and really somebody who just understands what REO is about and what challenges that they're gonna encounter during their time with us, and be willing to take on all of those challenges. There's times when we will ask you to go above and beyond, and you'll say to yourself, "Oh, why did I get into this?" But REO agents know that they love it, and sometimes there are things that are challenging, and you just kind of got to work through those things, and that's the kind of partner we're really looking for. Sometimes in a rural area, that kind of partnership can be really difficult to obtain. It can be hard to find somebody, and it takes a little extra work to build those relationships. So some of the things that I look for, we're in a metro area particularly, we're going to have lots and lots of people to choose from. So then it becomes for us a search on looking at different indicators in Equator, like scoring. What scoring will tell us about the agent. Basically, we have access to some of those numbers, and they tell us different things. So I'll go through that in a second. We also look at whether an agent is kind of up to date with what they have written in their profile data area. And then again, also if their docs are up to date, because if I'm going and looking for an agent in Chicago and I see an agent hasn't updated their docs since 2007, probably they're not into the REO game anymore. They're not really, that's from a long time ago. That was something, that they probably did as a one-off, and they're not interested. That's a no-brainer. Same thing with a rural area. If I go into a system, if I go into an area like Nebraska, a small town there, and I see 3 agents, one of them has docs from 2006. They did load their docs, and they were in there at one point. One of them has never loaded docs, and the other one has docs that are from 2016, 2017. I'm calling the one that has the docs uploaded for 2017 first, because that's the person who's actually been in Equator, within the last year and has done something there. And I have a better chance of getting them engaged in doing another REO if they've just done something. So that's kind of an indicator for us and why we look at the docs. So it's not so much, do you have current E&O? Do you have your W-9? Is your license valid? We're going to collect those things from you down the road anyway. So we have a time when we're going to be checking those things. When we're vetting an agent, that's not really what we're looking at. We're just looking at, is this agent alive and kicking and out there working at Equator? So that's kind of how we work that. So let's talk about then the data area, the profile data area. So how are you marketing yourselves here? This is a prime tool for you to be able to toot your own horn and say anything you want to be able to say about yourself. Definitely take advantage of all that it has to offer. It allows you to upload your photo. It allows you to put in a little bit of information about your experience. You can put other things in there, any kind of affiliations you have, any kind of designations you have. Also, most importantly, what your experience level is. And even something as simple as being a rural agent, and even if you don't have a lot of experience, but you've done REO before and you're willing, you put that in there. Just say something as simple as, have worked with REO, understand the challenges, I'm willing to take assignments. Maybe something as simple as that lets us know, wow, that person's out there and I'm going to give them a call because they're willing to do something with us. They're wanting some REO assignments, and even if I have to do some training, I know that that person's alive and taking it and wanting to do this. And when there's only a couple of choices, I mean, having somebody like that is, it's a lifesaver for us. And if you're in a metro area or medium metro area, setting yourself apart by saying something like, I have Fannie Mae experience, or, I've done certain certifications, I have a lot of Equator experience, it will catch our eye, and it does kind of give us an indicator that, okay, this person has taken the time, they specialize in REO, or they do a lot of REO, and they're willing to, kind of learn what they need to do and meet all the challenges, and they're wanting something right now. So use that space, use it wisely. I would advise against being gimmicky here, only because when we're doing that quick vetting, the first impression, that's so important. You never get a second chance on making a first impression. So if you put a caricature of yourself that's goofy, or you write something silly, or there's misspellings, or it doesn't make any sense, when we're just like speed reading down those profiles, it's kind of a little bit of a turnoff. So you don't want anything to turn anybody off on this profile data area. Okay, so some good examples here, and you saw some of those, so take advantage of that. So agent certification. This is another thing that we look for, because obviously it indicates you've taken the time to go and get certified and to learn and understand how to use this platform, which is so important for a number of reasons. I cannot tell you how many times during the day people will call us because they have technical issues on how to use Equator. They can't fill out the DPO form correctly. They can't get it to submit. They don't understand how the tasking works. They're lost. So for us, having a good amount of Equator experience, even if we are searching for an agent, maybe for a different platform where there's not as many agents in that platform for us to select and we can't find someone in it, or the platform that we're using really doesn't have a place for us to do a lot of searching, because there are some, believe it or not, and we're looking for an agent. If we see somebody who's certified, it just means that they've got that technological experience and they've got that training. Probably they can figure out the portal that we're using or we want them to use, because once I think you start to learn one portal, it starts to become kind of, everything looks more familiar to you. You start to figure out other ones, and it makes it a little easier. And for all of you on here who've been doing this for years, you're all going, yeah. So definitely we'll look for certification, and that is very important. Okay, agent scorecard. This is one of those elusive topics where everybody goes, but I can't see my scorecard, and scores are sometimes not right, and all of that kind of stuff. Well, let me tell you, I am aware, painfully aware, because I've been hearing that for years and years and years, how that all works. So when I'm looking at the scorecard, I have access to not only your scoring for anything that you would ever have done for Chronos Solutions, but all lenders. What I'm looking for here is extremes. If I go to look for an agent in some medium metro city in Indiana, and I see an agent has done 12 tasks and they have a 17% on-time rating, I can probably be assured that that person isn't really interested in meeting task deadlines. That's the kind of extreme I'm looking for. If I go into an area like Chicago and I see 3 agents and they all have done 1,298 tasks or somewhere around there, that's a lot of tasks. There's people who have even more than that, thousands of tasks that they've done, and they have a 99% on-time rate. That's a person who's seriously vested in having an on-time score, and they're going to know how to meet task deadlines. So I'm not looking for, I'm using this as a tool to look for those extremes. I'm not saying, oh, Joe has a 56 on-time rate, but everything else is perfect, so I'm going to discount him. I don't do that because I realize that there are reasons and times when people's score has been affected by certain things. But again, looking for those extremes, that's my tool. My tool is looking for the extremes. If there isn't an extreme, I don't weight the scorecard as much. There may be other things about the agent that's attractive. Some of their experience, maybe I've met the agent, I know that their reputation is really good, other things like that. So it's not just a one, like, oh, I'm going to put all the weight on that scorecard. But if you've got a good scorecard, that's a really good thing. And it's very important to try to keep that score up. And I think everybody realizes that and knows why that's important. All right. Okay, so premium placement. Premium placement, I wrote some notes about that, and one of the things I wrote about that and why it's important is it's common sense. If we're in looking for an agent in a specific area and you happen to have bought premium placement, it's going to put you at the top of that list with a big green bar that says premium. That's pretty hard for anybody to ignore, that you're at the top of the list with a big bar that says premium. So that's kind of a common sense thing that it's going to be attractive to anybody who's looking for you. Do you have to have a lot of zip codes to get properties? No, but when you're looking, again, when vendor managers are looking for a specific place, like I'm saying, a big, huge state like Pennsylvania where you have a lot of ground to cover, and you're looking for an agent to cover maybe a small rural town someplace, being able to find somebody with that premium placement, it makes it just so much easier for us to take a look at that person. It makes us zero in on that person and do a little bit more studying about what's going on with that, that agent. What do they say about themselves? Are their docs up to date? Do they have a lot of experience? What's their scoring? All of that stuff. Are they certified? So it helps us make a quicker decision. Same thing is if you're in a small rural town, again, and there's 8 agents and there's only one person with that premium placement, I mean, where do you think your eye is going to go? It's just naturally going to zoom in on that person. You're going to take a look at that person first. If you have premium placement and you have a 17% on-time rating, that may just not do the trick. So it's just kind of a balance of different things. But definitely this can be a great tool for you if you're serious about getting more assignments. I would definitely, look into how you can use that tool to make yourself more visible in more places. proximity. Something I like to say a little bit about proximity and, of course, the premium placement, too. You know, people will always ask, or, you know, they'll want my opinion about, is it good to have multiple offices and multiple locations? I will say that we're not a huge fan at Chronos Solutions about agents with multiple state locations, just because we've seen a number of issues with trying to manage offices in different locations like that. And the other thing is that if you have 3 offices and they're all located in, you know, the DC area, is it really necessary? Probably not, because we all have distance guidelines we have to go by, and in the metro area they can be anywhere from 15 to 30 miles. So if you have 3 offices within 30 miles, it's not really that helpful. It may be helpful in your marketplace because you're in different neighborhoods, but in the REO world, it's probably not that useful, and you can just put in one location and that's totally fine. So hopefully that clears up a little bit of some of those questions. So proximity. So we're lucky enough that if we're using Equator for our client, we can go in and put the loan number in, pull up the property, hit search for agent, and we can actually see the distance from that agent's office where they have it located, whatever they've got located or put into Equator, to our actual property. And we can see that distance, and it's a very, very big tool. Our clients actually use the same tool to check and see what we're doing, so that we're not assigning to agents who are 450 miles away, blah, blah, blah. And so that allows us to see who is closest to the property or who is at least close to the property. Do we always take the person who's the closest? Absolutely not. If I've got 10 agents and they're all within 7 miles, do I take the person who's 1 mile away? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on what the other factors are. What does it say about them in their profile? How long, you know, do they say they've been in Equator? That was another thing I didn't even mention. I think Equator has a date that says been a member since. Have you been a member since yesterday? Probably not. If you've been a member since 2005, it's definitely going to catch our attention. And then we can look at the other things like the scoring, the certification, premium placement, all the things that kind of catch our eye and give us that whole picture of someone. And usually we're going to choose somebody under 5 miles if we have a lot to choose from, or choose somebody who's kind of in that, that general distance. In a big metro area like Los Angeles, we should have plenty of people to choose from, and there should be plenty of really, really strong REO agents to choose from, and so we're gonna do that. If it's in a more rural area, we are going to look at the person who is the closest to the property, who's going to give us the best outcome. So there's no point in just going off distance, because we need to get a good outcome. So, sometimes I choose an agent who's a little bit farther, but I think I'm going to get a much better outcome. And at the end of the day, for us, it's about performance. It's not necessarily just about being close, although being close definitely has advantages. If an agent is close to a property, I know it's going to be no big deal for them to swing by once a week and do their weekly inspections or their biweekly inspections. So it definitely plays a role. It's just not the role. All right. So up to date. So here's the little corner over here where you can actually see on our end what we see, where we're looking at your docs, and we're looking at your phone number. And I want to say a little bit about that. Make sure that this information is up to date, because so many times we send emails out to agents to ask them if they're alive out there, because we can't get a hold of them because their phone numbers aren't up to date, and that doesn't work either. So you've got to make sure that this information is here. It is so good if you will put your mobile number in there, because as vendor managers, we do not want to have to call your office and go through 4 layers of your team filters just to try to get a 5-minute conversation with you so that we can ask you a few questions, because really what we're doing is a mini interview. We're calling you up and we're kind of doing that second vetting and asking you some very important questions about working with us. So if you don't have your cell number here and you rely on your team to do that for you, that's a huge mistake. I can tell you that. I've talked to many other vendor managers, and it's a big pet peeve with everybody. I don't mind that you have a team. In fact, it's great. But I don't want to talk to your first, assistant, Dolores, who knows everything. I want to see you. I want to talk to you. You're the one on the profile. I want to talk to you. And it's very frustrating, and it sets a bad first impression if I can't get to you. So put your mobile number on there. Even if you call me back, even if I leave a voicemail and you call me back in 10, 15 minutes, that's fine. I just don't like having to go through a lot of people and then waiting for 2 hours for somebody to call me back. Sometimes by then I've moved on and a good opportunity has been lost. So I'm telling you now, worth it to put your cell number on there. So license information, again, this is another, I kind of explained how I look for you and see if you're alive and kicking out there. If your docs don't expire until 2018 or don't expire until later in this year, I know you're keeping these up to date and you're engaged in what's going on in your profile. And then I'm happy about that because I know that's fresh and you've been in here. And that is very important. So those are just little things that I glance at in just about every single time I go in there. All right. So some of you maybe jumped on and are not really in REO yet, and just kind of like exploring what you can do to get properties, and you don't have a lot of experience. Some people, we have a question that was asked a while ago. I'm sure the answer to the question is on this call. Somebody had asked them, is it too late to get into REO? And the answer was no, in fact, you're early. So that's kind of a little running joke we have, you're never too late or too early, because you never know what's going to happen with the market down the road, and volumes can change as economies change and things happen. So definitely it's a great thing to get into, but there are some realities, and I like to go over those realities because everybody needs to kind of know that it's no picnic. And if you talk to other REO agents, you will find that out very quickly. There are some costs involved, for sure, absolutely. Most agents are required to do some type of expenditures. So some of those expenditures can be very small, like turning on very small utility bills, having very small utility bills in a sunny area like Los Angeles, where you don't need a lot of heat, you don't need a lot of air conditioning, and you have to do a rekey. And then there are places where the utility bills, like Minnesota, are way out there in the wintertime. And then there are clients who like to do a lot of repairing, and some of those repairs can be in the tens of thousands. So those are some of the cost realities. If you're not prepared for that, those are the types of things that you may not want to do REO for. And if you don't want to do REO, you obviously are not going to make yourself visible in Equator so that everybody can find you and call you all the time, because that's going to be a huge waste of everybody's time. The other thing is that I constantly recruit people who seem to want REO, but they're not interested in meeting the task deadlines. They're all about, well, I've got other things to do. Well, then obviously we're not a priority for you, and I need to be the priority. I need for you to get your tasks on time, completed on time, because that's what our client expects of us. And when it doesn't happen, they just look at us and say, what's the matter? You're not getting your tasks done on time. And that's exactly what happens. And I think agents don't realize that. We are just as accountable, if not more accountable, to our client as you could ever be to us. They question everything. They look at tasks. They open the task. They look at the quality of the task. They look at the on-timeness, the timeliness of the task. They look at everything, and that's how they determine whether they like us or not, and they're going to give us more volume or not. More volume for us means more volume for you. That's just how it works. So being on time with things needs to be an absolute priority. And then lots of competition right now. I mean, there are still a large amount of REO agents out in metro areas, especially, still competing. And I know you guys are hungry, and we try to take care of as many people as we can. But the reality is, I may not get anything in California for 2 weeks. It's a tough gig to be in right now. There's lots and lots of preferred agents right now, and everybody's kind of fighting for that, those few assignments. And of course, the waiting list is pretty big. And unfortunately for me, it tends to be in areas where we always have a lot of people and not in areas where we still need those people. So my joke is, if you guys, whoever wants to move to Fairbanks, Alaska, or pretty much any place in South Dakota, the market's wide open. All right. So takeaways: stay up to date. Keep your licensing and insurance and info always up to date in the system. Make that a routine thing you do every year in every one of your vendor management systems. I just spent the last 2 days sending out 480 emails to people who have the opportunity to update their E&O and just haven't done it. Now I got to go chasing after it. And it's already March. Every January, that should be on your to-do list for January, 5th, once the new year is over. Get on those vendor management systems and get those docs and all that stuff updated. Keep that stuff updated. Be proactive. We love to see that. It means you are on the ball. Check your summary. If the last time you wrote something in Equator was 2007, it's going to say have 1 year of experience. Well, now it's 11. Time to update it. Ensure you're giving that accurate number of years, because we do look at that. And just make sure that you've updated your list of experience. If you want to say something, if last year you took on Fannie Mae, that's a cool thing to be able to add to your profile data that may not have been there before. So keep that up, keep everything up to date. If you are in a rural market particularly, you may want to invest in some premium placement for yourself. I can guarantee you that it'll pay off if you're in a harder area to find agents. And even if you're in a medium metro area, it will probably pay off for you for sure. And if you're in a metro area, it's almost, I can't really say enough. You're competing against other people, so anything you can do to give yourself an advantage and make you stand out from everybody else is, is something worth investing in. So, again, manage expectations means understanding that you can still do REO, but you're going to probably be waiting for assignments in lots of cases. It just depends on how many clients you're working with and what the opportunities are in those areas. And while you're waiting, use your resources, like going in and updating your Equator accounts, maybe your other accounts, networking with other people to find out what's going on, building some impressions with some asset managers while you're out there. Everybody still goes to a conference here and there. It's kind of nice to be able to see who's still working in the business and who's gone away. It makes it a lot easier for us to figure out who's active, who still wants the business. So those are some of the things that you can do while you're waiting for assignments. Obviously, we've been talking about diversifying your business for a long time now and making sure that you don't put all your eggs in one basket, because I think I just was looking at DS News this morning, and foreclosures down even lower than it was when the foreclosure, when the whole thing hit. So if the amount of volume continues to decrease for all of us, it does become a waiting game. All right, so we are at the question and answer portion of our show.
Well, thank you, Susan. That's so much information that you've provided, and we have a lot of questions. And a lot of them are revolving around the same theme. So I'll start with a few of them. Does the fact that we have other REOs work for us or against us?
I think for the most part, go ahead.
And I think what I'm seeing on this is, what about the capacity? Do you look at that, and how does that affect your decision making?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a really good question. I tend not to zero in on that too much, to be honest with you. It's just not, maybe that's a shortcoming of mine. If somebody seems to have an extraordinarily large amount of REO in a big metro area, I do kind of glance at it. If they are in a medium area, or if they're in a really rural area, and I notice they have a lot of tasks, a lot of assignments, that does catch my attention because I kind of get concerned because it is really hard for one-man shop to balance maybe like 30 REOs. It doesn't discount you completely, but I will probably ask you some questions when I call you about your capacity and your volume and how things are going for you. And I have literally done that in the last week where I talked to somebody and I was kind of concerned. I thought, well, they're probably really good because everybody's calling them and their scoring is really good, but man, they've got a lot of properties. It kind of, concerns me. But he assured me he's just brought on 2 people to help him, and that he was doing very well. And so I was able to kind of alleviate my concern with the phone call.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you're starting to get a little muffled again. I'm seeing some agents chat in that it's a little bit muffled. So
okay,
just wanted to let you know that.
I think it's just where I'm located, everybody. I'm kind of in my office, and probably I just need to hold my head still. So I'll do that.
Okay. Okay, so here's another one. Do you distribute your REOs if there are more than a few preferred agents, or is it just one agent that gets all the volume in that area?
Well, generally, it is more than one agent. We try to have, if it's a large metro area again, throwing at you, Chicago, I don't know why that always comes to my mind, Milwaukee, other places like that, Miami. We tend to have probably 5, 6, 7 agents to select from in those areas. We try to spread some opportunity out. It's always good to have a little competition, and also for us to have choices. But we try to have at least 2 agents in every area. And the reason for that is because we do have to move properties from time to time. We do have clients who say, we only want to provide a 90-day listing or 120-day listing to an agent, and after that we want you to move them. So we do have to have 2 agents usually in each area, no matter how small. And also, it's just a good idea. I mean, people go on vacation, people, things happen. So having 2 at least in every little area is good. But again, yeah, we try to spread it out. Medium metro area, we'll have at least 4 people, sometimes more. It just depends.
Okay, great. So another question is, if I'm already a Chronos agent on Pyramid, will I be preferred on Equator too?
Probably. So if you are, the best thing to do is check with me on that. That's a complicated question because we just took on a new client, and with that client from Pyramid, we brought over a lot of transfer people. So I don't want to give people the wrong impression that suddenly they've been made a preferred agent with Chronos Solutions, because that may not be the case. But you are welcome to email me at s.speer, S-T-E-E-R, at chronosolutions.com, and you can ask me about your status. Okay? Only do it if you are just asking that question. If you're just asking about registration or how to get into the network, please use the registration tool that I gave you earlier.
Okay, great. Here's another one. So I have repeatedly read that certification does not really help in getting listings. Is this just a myth?
I think the way that I explained it to you guys really makes a lot of sense, and I honestly believe that my co-vendor managers out there in the field, in our competitors, I do talk to them, and we do kind of share notes back and forth. It's just another tool. It's something else that we look at. For me, it's a positive. If you have certification, it's definitely a positive. It's not everything we look at. It's one thing we look at. So you kind of have to view it like that. Everything that you can add to your arsenal of being selected is good. I mean, it's just like in the regular retail real estate world. If you've got your GRI or whatever, it's just another thing. You've got your broker's license and your client to you as a broker. All of those things add up to somebody who stands out, who's got a good body of experience, knows what they're doing, who's very engaged in their career, and people like to see that. So I think that certification is another tool. Why wouldn't it be? Anything positive is a positive, period.
Great. Okay, here's some scorecard questions. How does the on-time percentage work when it's the servicer that assigns the task that can't be completed on time due to their issues?
Well, I mentioned that while I was talking, and I'm aware of that. I knew that question would come up, so that's why I addressed it. So that's why I say I'm looking at the extremes. I'm looking at things that are obvious. If somebody has done 14,000 tasks and they have a 99% on time rating, I'm looking for that. I'm looking likewise for somebody who's in Paducah, Kentucky, who's only done 15 tasks in Equator, and they've got a 17% on time rating. No offense against Paducah, but it just came to my mind because that's an extreme that I can kind of make a judgment call on. For those of you who are kind of in that middle range, I kind of don't put a lot of weight on the scoring, but I do put a lot of weight on other things. I'll put a lot of weight on, what you've got written about yourself, if you're a doctor up to date, if you have premium placement, what your experience level is. So those are the kind of details I look at, but you want to take advantage of that, that profile data area for yourself. It is a factor.
Okay, great. Okay, let's do a time check. We're about 45 minutes, we're about 15 minutes over our scheduled time, but we do have some more questions. How about if we do a couple more? Okay, we work in the rural communities. How far from our office can we accept assignments?
That is going to be client dictated. Some of our clients are really, really strict on that, and others could care less. As long as we find somebody that will do the job, that's all they want. So a good rule of thumb for a we have some super rural areas out there in America, let me tell you, people. South Dakota, North Dakota, some areas of Kansas, even like upstate New York. If we can find an agent within 30 miles, that's a really good rule of thumb. But sometimes I've had to assign agents as far away as 70 miles. So we're talking about like the Dakotas where there's not very many people practicing real estate, at all. But it is client dictated. So that's a hard question for me to just say, throw out a number there. But a good rule of thumb is about 30. That's kind of an average in everybody's mind.
And then also, I see there's a lot of agents that are asking, if you don't have a score in Equator, how are you ever going to get assignments? So there's a couple things that Equator's working on, and we're looking to bring in MLS data so that it would provide more information to the asset managers and the vendor managers to see that you do have real estate experience. It may not be on the Equator platform, it may be on other platforms, so we're going to be pulling that information in. And that's probably going to happen. We're going to get to that project by the end of the year. Okay, so I think that wraps it up. We do have a $100 coupon for Agent Elite, and Agent Elite is the certification that Susan was discussing. So in that package, you